What's up, everyone? We are live. My name is Yara, who buys houses, and I have here Teddy Slack Jr. We're going to be talking about how investors can find, buy. What is the continuation of that today's event, sir? Teddy, what?
So yeah, we're going to talk about how to buy houses with underground oil tanks with zero risk, even if they're leaking oil tanks.
Okay, so we're going to be, and you're going to be focusing mostly in New Jersey, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
Exactly right. So we have a lot of tank issues. So for those of you out there who are new, most of the people here they are could be new. There are going to be some questions on the right hand, guys. Again, I strongly suggest you guys ask questions. Please do because most likely, if you have that question, most likely somebody else has that question. So there's no silly questions out there. Just make sure you ask them because we'd love to answer them. And this is why Teddy Slag Jr. is here to make sure you guys get your answers to whatever questions you might have. So I'm going to go ahead and Teddy, if you can go ahead and tell more about yourself, your background, how you started, who you are for those who don't know you, and we'd love to hear more about you.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, my name is Teddy Slack Jr. I'm actually the fourth, but I'm third generation in the environmental business. So I
Awesome.
grew up in this industry. My grandfather used to install underground oil tanks back in the day, and now here I am. Three generations later, I pull them out and I do the environmental cleanups when they're found to be leaking. So grew up in the industry since I've been a little kid. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've owned a couple different companies in different industries. Some of them have been door-to-door industry. I had a couple guys knocking doors, like 20 guys in the Bronx, going door to door. I've been in the fracking business. I had $1 million worth of equipment out in Ohio at one point. I've done a little bit of everything. I've been in the environmental emergency response business, but recently I've been concentrating solely on residential oil tank services. This is my main bread and butter. I've been in this industry on my own since 2009. And yeah, I started out as a kid, and back in 2011, I bought my first property that was contaminated.
Oh
So,
wow.
that's how I got into the real estate business. So I started buying contaminated property, was doing pretty good with that, and then I started renovating houses. And in 2016, I flipped over 26 houses.
Good for
And
you.
so right now, I actually just closed on my last flip yesterday, and I'll be out of the industry for some time because I'm concentrating again on this business here.
Smart.
So I'm just really focusing right now.
Congrats on that flip.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. So I've been doing this for a long time. So Simple Tank is a rebrand of a company called Qualified Tank Services. So Qualified Tank Services, I started in 2009. I separated from my family business, which does mostly commercial environmental work, and we focus on residential. So 99% of our jobs are residential. We're dealing with homeowners, investors, buyers, sellers, realtors, attorneys, every day, day in and day out. So,
So it
we
sounds like if anybody has an issue or anything, they could definitely reach out to you, not only for for you to actually remedy it and actually get everything under control, but also if they have questions, you can be able to help them out. As I understand, correct?
Yeah, absolutely, and we're very, very investor friendly. Obviously, I have the experience flipping houses, so I know kind of what's entailed in buying and selling properties, and that's why some of the products we have are really geared for investors. They're very unique. They don't exist in the industry, so you're not going to be able to shop it from a competitor because it just doesn't exist. And we're going to go through that today, and I'll explain
You
what I
do have
mean
a
by that.
PowerPoint, as I understand, correct?
I'm sorry, what was that?
You have a PowerPoint, correct? And you'll be sharing with people.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
awesome. Just before I leave and let you go through your PowerPoints, how would people be able to contact with you? Is it simple service? Like how do you have a website? Are you mostly on online, or, Facebook, social media? How can they get in touch with you?
exactly. Yeah. Just go online, Facebook, simpletankservices.com is our website. We have a YouTube channel called Tank TV. So those are the easiest ways to get us, or you just contact me at the office, which is 732-965-8265.
Perfect, awesome. So what I'm gonna do is you can go ahead and go with the PowerPoint. Oh, here we go at the stream. All right, so everybody, my name is Eric. I'm gonna be leaving, and you're now in safe hands of Teddy Slag Jr. He is gonna tell you more about his services and what he can do for you guys and how you guys can benefit from working together. All right, guys, enjoy.
Awesome. So yeah, so as I was explaining, Simple Tank Services is a rebrand of Qualified Tank Services, which I started in '09. We're very proud to say that we have over 281 Google reviews. which is a very good amount of reviews for considering we're just a tank business, right? So we're not a restaurant. We don't have thousands of clients a year. So we're very proud of that. It takes a lot of work to keep our clients happy and to get those reviews. Currently, we have over 120 active files, so juggling those files can get interesting and it can be difficult. So we try to keep our clients as happy as we can, and we are proud of that Google review. So today we're going to talk about some investor-friendly options. So when you're working with a tank contractor, you want to make sure that it's an investor-friendly contractor, and that doesn't mean the cheapest contractor, because that's what sometimes guys think, oh, if he's investor-friendly, he's the cheapest guy. No, believe me, I've flipped a lot of houses. Hiring the cheapest guy is the worst decision you'll ever make. So you don't want the cheapest guy. You just want a guy that has experience working with other investors, that has programs that are specific to investors that are looking to buy, flip houses, invest in properties for long-term holds. Somebody who has that experience. So yeah, I could see your comments coming through here now. If you guys have any questions throughout this, just shoot me a comment, and I'll definitely be able to answer any questions you have. So we're going to talk a little bit about oil tank removals versus soil testing. Okay, so if you're an investor, you're looking to buy a piece of property. Most of the time when you're buying property, as you know, you're not going to buy it from a homeowner who has tons of money that are going to take out the tank and do the environmental cleanup. That's more retail, right? So you're dealing with buyer or sellers that either are losing their home to short sale, or you're dealing with the bank, or you're dealing with an estate. They just want to get rid of this property, right? They don't want to do anything. They don't have the funds, or they just don't want to deal with the tank. So it's on you as a buyer. So as a buyer, you have to protect yourself, okay? You can't just go in there and buy it sight unseen and then just hope that that tank is not leaking, because an oil tank remediation can cost tens of thousands. I mean, I have one right now. Currently, I'm on Highland Park. It's a residential site, 4-family actually. We're over $100,000 in the cleanup. We've been out there 4 times. It's still not finished. So these things can get expensive real fast. So how do you protect yourself as a buyer? Basically, okay, you are going to do your due diligence the proper way. Most of my clients, they come to me and say, oh, I want to buy this house. I'm going to pull the tank out. I'm going to pay for the removal before I buy it. And I say, no way. That is not the best option, and I'll explain why. Because, okay, a couple things. If you don't own the property and you're going to now consider paying for the tank removal, first of all, it's going to take 2 to 4 weeks. So let's take worst case scenario, 4 weeks to get a permit and to get you on our schedule. That's number one. Number two, you're going to be looking at spending anywhere from $1,500 to $2,000 to pull that tank. Number three, if we pull the tank in 30 days from now and we find that it's leaking, the next thing you're going to say to me is, well, how much is this going to cost to clean up? And I'm going to tell you, I don't know. Nobody can tell you. Why? Because we don't know how far that contamination traveled. We just see visually that, yeah, there's holes in the tank, there's soil that's contaminated. We don't know how far it traveled, right? So I can't give you a number on what that's going to cost. So that now your deal might be dead and you just dropped $2,000 and wasted 30 days. So as you know, with real estate investing, time is money, man. You got to get answers quick. So the best thing to do is to do a proper soil investigation. And I say proper because there's other ways you can do a soil investigation, but the way we do it is very unique. Okay? So when you test an oil tank, there's 2 ways to test it. You could do tank testing or you could do soil testing. Okay, and we'll go through the difference between the two. So tank testing itself, let's just start off with that. Forget about that. If anybody ever tells you should go test the tank, run in the other direction. Those tests are not accurate. They're going to put air in the tank. They're going to see if there's a leak in the fill or vent or whatever. It's not an accurate test. I've been in this industry for so long. I've seen so many times where those tests have come up where they said it was clean. Client bought the house. They hired us to pull it, and the tank was Swiss cheese. And vice versa. I saw where, those tests came back as dirty. They didn't buy the house, and then for whatever reason, I get the deal, and I pulled the tank, and it's fine. So they're not accurate. No company will stand behind those tests. So that right then and there, that should show you, if nobody's going to back it up with some kind of guarantee or stand behind the results, it's a waste of money, okay? As a buyer, you need to do the proper investigation. So 2 ways to do a soil test is you could do it by hand, or you could do it with a machine called the geoprobe. We have the access to do it either way, depending on where the tank is located. But ideally, you want to do it with a machine, okay? As you can see in the photo there, this guy that's doing it by hand, the problem with doing by hand, the guy's going to get down 3-4 feet. He's going to hit a rock. He can't get any deeper. He's going to grab a sample at 4 feet. Well, that's not the proper depth. So he's going to get a clean soil reading almost 95% of the time, okay? Which if he's telling you the soil's clean, you buy the property. Now you're fully responsible if there's a leak, and you're going to be looking at tens of thousands possibly to clean it up. So the machine, I have a machine it's over $100,000 new, this machine, okay? I could pull a lever, it could go down to 30 feet if I wanted to. It's very easy to get to the proper depth, okay? So that machine there is gonna be able to really give us a better idea of what we have in the ground as far as the contamination. It's gonna be able to allow us to chase the contamination. So again, if you're doing it by hand and you're spending, let's say $500, you found a guy who'll do a soil test for $500, right? He's coming out with this hand boring equipment. If he finds contamination in the first borehole that he does, that's it. He's stopping the job. He's going to send a sample to the lab, and he's going to give you lab results and say, yeah, your tank's leaking. That's why I call it a yes or no test. Yeah, it's leaking, or no, it's not leaking. Well, that's not enough information for you as a buyer. You need to know exactly if it is leaking, how extensive it is. With a hand boring equipment, you can't do that. If he finds contamination at 8 feet, he can't then chase it to 15 feet to find out where it's clean. You just can't do it with hand boring equipment, right? So with our equipment, our geoprobe, I'm gonna be able to do that. I'm gonna chase the contamination. So if I find contamination in my first borehole, I'm gonna chase it till I get clean soil, all the way in every direction. See how deep it is. I'm gonna see if groundwater is impacted, if it's close. So all that information I'm gonna find out. We charge $600 for this investigation. Okay, there's nobody else in the industry that's doing anything even similar to this for that kind of money. Okay, a proper delineation, that's what it's called. It consists of figuring out the horizontal and vertical, of where the plume is, right? We want to know how deep it is and how far it traveled in each direction. That's the main points, because in order to figure out the cost of the cleanup, you have to know how much soil has to come out. I mean, that's the ultimate determination of what this is going to cost, is how much soil is there and how long is that going to take to get out, and if groundwater is impacted. Those are the main issues that we need to determine. So a proper delineation is going to figure all those things out. If groundwater is close, if it's close to where the plume is, if the contamination's off-site, if it's under any structures. So we're going to find all that data out. We're going to put it into a calculation. Once we run it through our calculation, we'll determine how many tons of soil have to come out. We'll figure out the access of how hard it is to get that soil out. And then we're going to be able to provide you with a flat rate, okay, remediation, which is absolutely the best thing. You cannot go with any kind of open-ended contracts when you're a buyer and you're trying to buy a piece of property. So if you called around 10 guys, 9 guys are going to, and you tell them, I want a delineation. I want to buy this house. It has a tank and I know it's leaking, or maybe I don't know it's leaking, but I want to delineate the soils if it is. You're going to see prices of anywhere between $3,500 to $5,000. And the reason is because they're giving you all these things that you don't need. For example, they're running 6 samples to a lab. They're giving you a subsurface evaluator who's licensed by the state. They're going to write a big report for you. All these things that are, as a buyer, you don't need. Okay, you don't want to spend. Who wants to spend $3,500 on a house they don't own yet? Nobody, right? Nobody's going to do that. So we came up with a program where we stripped all that stuff, and we're only providing you with the geoprobe and an operator. Okay, and we're going to investigate those soils and give you the data you need and give you a flat rate. It's for $600. You're not going to find anyone else out there that's going to give you the same amount of information. It's very, very important that you know the difference between what we're doing and what these guys out there are doing for a $500 or $600 sample. It's a completely different service. So what this is going to allow us to do, if we find contamination, we're going to be able to provide you with a fixed price on a remediation cost. So if that tank is leaking, we're going to chase the contamination, figure out how deep it is, how far it traveled. We're going to give you a fixed price. Hypothetically, let's say it's $13,000 to remove the tank and remediate. Well, now you can take that contract knowing that all in, it's going to be $13,000. Worst case scenario, you can negotiate with the seller now. Even if it's a bank and the bank's not going to do anything, work the $13,000 into your numbers and into your rehab numbers. And if it makes sense with ARV, well, then you could go forward with the purchase. Okay, so using that number 13,000, you buy it, you hire us to do it. If it costs me $20,000 to do the job, I'm still only invoicing you $13,000. So we, Simple Tank, are taking on all the risk and liability. You have no risk at all. We're guaranteeing you a no further action letter for that quoted price of $13,000. And again, I mean, I'm just using a number. I've had quotes that are $6,000. I have quotes that are, $160,000 fixed price. So they range all over the place. And this is why it's important that you do the proper investigation and you know what that number is. Last thing you want to do is buy a house that's only worth $300,000 that's got a $160,000 remediation. So here's a perfect example. This project was one of ours. It started out as an $8,000 open-ended contract. Okay, we were working for the seller. We pulled their tank. It had a leak. We gave them an open-ended contract, started at $8,000, included about 20 tons of soil. Well, after we started the work, we started chasing the contamination. We find that it kept going. We just could not find clean soil, right? We eventually stopped digging. We went out there and we probed around and we determined that this is way more extensive than a typical cleanup. Okay, this was like a $300,000 remediation. We had to jack up both houses, the neighbor's house and our client's house. They were living in there. We had to support the sewer line. You can see that PVC line. That's actually the sewer line. So they were living in this house as we were doing the cleanup. But this was a couple weeks, and we were out there for 3 weeks doing this cleanup, $300,000 cleanup. So do not get caught with a cleanup like this by just taking the risk of buying it sight unseen without doing any kind of investigation. So what the fixed price soil remediations allows you to do, it allows you to know your numbers. You can negotiate better terms with the seller. Okay, you could even work with some hard money lenders. There's a couple guys that were even on today doing some talks. They'll work with our numbers. If we give you a price, they're gonna work with that. They know that we're guaranteeing an NFA, so they'll take that and work it into the deal. We also do a ton of work with 203K loans. So if you're doing any kind of rehabs with 203K loans, you could, again, use our fixed number to work it into those numbers and make that deal go through. You're pushing all the liability and risk off onto us. And so let me give you another scenario. Let's say we go out there and do the soil investigation and we don't find contamination. Great. Well, most companies, when they do these investigations, they're going to give you a yes or no test. Yes, it's leaking. No, it's not. So if they tell you it's not leaking for $500, $600, and you go buy the property and you pull the tank 6 months later or whatever, and you find that it is leaking, it's 100% your responsibility. You have no recourse against that other company. With us, if I tell you the soil's clean, we offer a 6-month guarantee. Okay, it's an optional guarantee. It does cost an additional $1,400 on top of the tank removal itself, but all in, let's say roughly $3,500 for $600 for the test, $1,400 for the guarantee, roughly $1,500 for the removal. All in, you're $3,500. 100% you know that if there is a leak, you're covered. That's, again, if we do the initial sampling and it's clean. So this is something that's very unique to our company that nobody else will do. We stand 100% behind that guarantee, and you'll know with 100% certainty that if you buy that house with the tank still in the ground, if there's a problem, you're not going to have to worry about cleaning it up. So it's very, very important that you get that guarantee. And we're the only company in the state of New Jersey that offers anything like this. So again, just to reiterate, when you're buying a property with an underground tank, the best way to protect yourself is to do the proper soil investigation, not just a yes or no soil test, not a test that doesn't come with a guarantee. You need a test that will, A, come with a guarantee if it states that it's clean, and B, if it's dirty, you need to know exactly how much it's going to cost to clean that up. So you can then work that into the deal. Okay? Now, if you are buying it from a seller, private seller, and there's equity in the deal, we could even, if we give you that fixed price, so let's say again, $13,000, we can work that in, or we do the work up front. I'll get the NFA letter before you even close with no money down, no money out of pocket for the seller, and we get paid out of the proceeds of the sale. So that's something really unique that we offer as well. So we'll go in, we'll do the work, and at the closing table, we'll get paid. You get the property with a clean bill of health. Everybody's happy, and the money comes out of the equity in the deal. So think about it. I mean, nobody has to lay any money out. Essentially, except for the $600 initial investigation, we work up the numbers, we work it into the deal, everybody closes. To give you an idea of timeline, typically, if there is a leak and you have to deal with that, normal circumstance, best case scenario, you're looking at 30 to 45 days to get that clean bill of health, which is your no further action letter. We have a program where we can get that within 10 to 15 business days of the site work. Okay, there's some additional fees to basically speed up the process with the lab and the reports and all that, but you can get your NFA letter in 10 to 15 days. Again, it's unheard of in the industry. Nobody's giving an NFA letter in 10 to 15 days. These are programs that are specific to our company, that are unique because we know what our clients need. It's all about speed. Time is money, right? So, definitely if you have any questions about how that process works and timelines and costs, don't hesitate at all to reach out to me. So as an investor, you should definitely become a tank expert. Okay, I know a lot of guys won't even touch a house with an oil tank, but after going through these options we have, there's no reason why you shouldn't. Right? For 600 bucks, you'll know exactly what's going on out there, and you could actually go on the MLS. You could search for expired listings. You could put the filter in for underground tanks, and you could find houses that maybe just expired because there was an issue with an oil tank. Well, now you for 600, you could hire us to come in. We'll probe around. I'll tell you exactly how much it's going to cost. You work that into the deal, and now you just found yourself a nice deal. It's hard to find deals, especially now. I mean, it's very difficult. So become a tank expert. Go after the deals that nobody wants to touch. Go onto Zillow. You can put a filter in. Okay, you could put a filter in for underground oil tanks. You could put a filter in for contamination, leaking oil tank, and you could find deals that maybe have been on the market forever. 2 years, whatever. Now you could go after those deals, knowing once again that we could come in and provide you with a fixed number, and then you could work that into the deal. REO agents are a great source. A lot of them have a list of houses that they can't offload because of oil tanks. Go after those deals. Bring them to us. Let us investigate it and then work those deals. If you want to get a hold of me, again, you can look us up online, simpletankservices.com. You can look me up on Facebook, Instagram. We also have a YouTube channel. It's called Tank TV. There's about 14 episodes on there. Some pretty unique content. So you can check us out on there. You can see how that geoprobe looks, how it works, and you could get a lot of good content on our YouTube channel. So that's pretty much it. I mean, if you guys have any questions, you could always hit me up anytime. Once again, my name is Teddy from Simple Tank Services, and look forward to working with you guys in the future.
All right, guys, thank you for tuning in. Hope all the questions were answered. If not, I'd love for you guys to go ahead and reach out. Make sure that Teddy Slag Jr. is there to help in any way he can, forum or question answering, or et cetera, et cetera. And again, thank you, Teddy Slag, for your time, for your knowledge, for the information that you shared. The PowerPoint is really informational. If anybody would like to get the PowerPoints, would you be able to send it over to them for more information? How would you? What kind of how direct contact would you want? Do you do like mentorship, like any kind of way where you can lead people and further questions if they want?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, probably the best way to just shoot me an email, info@simpletankservices.com. That comes right to my assistant, but usually gets pushed up to me. So yeah, just shoot me a quick email. I'll shoot you the slides if you want. But any questions anybody has, I mean, if somebody's working a deal that already has a bunch of environmental work that's been done on the property, I'll look at that stuff. I don't charge for that. I'll look at it. I'll go through all the reports. I'll give you my recommendation on how to handle it. I just dealt with a deal from a realtor who's having a real hard time with another environmental contractor. I'll look at everything. I'll give you my opinion. There's no cost to that. So I'm looking to help anybody out I can.
Awesome. And there was a question: were you on Bigger Pockets podcast?
I was. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, your face, your name's getting around, so people are definitely familiar with you. All right, awesome. There's somebody said that they loved your PowerPoint, so that was awesome. That's amazing. You definitely came some good answers to people that were questioning. And again, New Jersey is a really tough area to deal with because the tanks are not a simple thing. They're in ground. There is contaminated land and so on. So even would you suggest somebody going on the contract prior to closing to reach out to you and have you guys do something with that?
Absolutely, man. And I just seen the questions now here that I saw that somebody asked about an active oil tank. So we actually have a program too. So if you have an active heating oil tank and you want to keep the tank in the ground, you don't want to take it out, we actually have a program where we'll warranty it. We'll do that same type of investigation where we'll probe around the tank. And then we offer a $150,000 warranty on the potential cleanup cost. It's $59 a month, and it's transferable to any buyer. So that is a program that we just recently launched.
Awesome.
But yeah, we definitely we have a lot of unique stuff out there, man. We work with a lot of investors. We work with tons of people that are even buying retail. I mean, we do tank searches. We do pretty much anything with residential oil tanks.
Okay, so I'm not sure if you answered that question. Do you offer the same type of program for home bought with an active oil tank and you want to convert it to a gas post closing.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you wanted to, let's say you knew you wanted to convert to gas. We would do that same soil investigation. If the tank is clean, we offer a 6-month guarantee on that. So after you close, you hire us to pull it. If there's any environmental problems, we clean it up at no additional cost. So
Wow.
that's a guarantee that we offer that nobody else offers, and it's a one-time fee that you pay up front, and you're completely covered. I mean, it could cost us 20 grand to clean it up, and there's no extra fees for you guys.
So you can sleep well at night.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise, you don't, you're worried that, hey, once I pull that tank, because the problem is when you soil test these tanks, you're only sampling alongside of them. You can't sample under the tank. So it's
Ah,
about a 90% accuracy rate if it's done correctly. If it's done by hand, it's like a 50% accurate rate. Because if you are not getting to the proper depth, forget it. I mean, you're not going to get an accurate reading. So we have that machine called the GeoProbe that we're able to sample alongside of it right at the proper depth. That's why we feel confident enough to give a guarantee on our results.
interesting. Okay, so since your competitors are probably either don't know, don't do it, or they're not really safe of offering that service.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you should ask them is like, what type of guarantees do I get with these lab results? And nobody gives a guarantee. So if you're going to spend $500, you think you're saving 100 because I'm 600, but there's no guarantee. So if you buy
Right.
that house, once you sign the dotted line, you're 100% responsible according to the DEP. So it doesn't matter who owned it before you. You're never going to go and sue the guy before you. You'll never get it. I mean, I've been in this industry for too long. You'll never win that case. And if you do, most likely the seller's got no money, so you're not going to
Right.
collect on it.
Right. Right.
You have to do your due diligence ahead of time and make sure you're protected by having guarantees. And like I said, we're the only company in New Jersey that offers any type of guarantees like we do.
Got it. Okay. So let me ask you this: if I was shopping around for us, service provider like yourself, what are some questions I should be asking when I call in, right? Hey, I'm looking for services. What do you da da da? Da. What are some key questions that people might overlook or rethink, not ask?
Okay, so what a lot of people do is they find a house. Let's say they find a house and they know that it has a leaking tank. I get this one all the time. They start calling, they pick up the phone, they look up Google oil tank removal contractors, and they just call, hey, how much is it going to cost to remove this tank and do a cleanup? Well, most of these contractors are going to tell you, oh yeah, well, average is 20 tons of soil. It should cost you about 8 to 12,000. Well, now if you take that number and you use that for your numbers to work the deal, and you're thinking it's going to be 8 to 12 grand, and you buy that house and it costs you 30 or 40 grand, there goes all your profit, right?
Right.
So it's very important that when you ask this question, you want to know, is it a fixed number? And don't let them fool you. There's one contractor out there that's advertising a flat rate, but it's very deceiving. His flat rate only includes up to 20 tons of soil. So anything over 20 tons, you're
Ah,
responsible. Or if it's into groundwater, that's additional. So it's
oh,
not
wow.
a true flat rate. There's a lot of scary guys in this business. So you got to be real careful. You want to make sure
Fine
that,
print.
yeah, you read the fine print. And again, I mean, if you have contracts, I'll review them for you. I'll tell you, hey, this is a good deal. It's not a good deal. One of the things that we launched recently, we've been running a promotion now since COVID hit, and we haven't stopped it. I don't know if it's going to stop soon, but we've been running a flat rate removal price, which is very unique again. So typically how it works in the industry to remove an oil tank, it's like $1,500 plus permits, plus pumping out the tank, plus disposing of any sand if it is inside the tank. And they run anywhere from $2 to $2,500. We're running a flat rate right now. It's about $1,500 all in permits, pump out, everything. So we are running a promotion right now on tank removals itself. But again, the removal itself is not important if you don't own the property. If you're looking to buy these properties, the most important thing is it leaking and how much is that going to cost me as a buyer?
Right. Like one time, one thing that Nick Tang mentioned before in his classes and tutorials, pretty much. So when you actually go on the contract, right? In the contract, you should put down that, can I remove the oil tank before we close, right? And a lot of times the reason for that is that, hey, if you do pull the oil tank, then, right? If I pay you, let's say you're on the contract for $300,000 property, I'll go ahead and pay you that flat fee, whatever fee at that current time that I'll be using your services for, 12, 1,500, 2,500, whatever it is. You spend the money, you pull the tank, and guess what? You find out there's a whole issue going on with the earth. It's contaminated. That costs you $100,000 to remedy it and like to get it under control. If the deal just right there slips out of the fingers, right? There's no point of that deal. So
Well,
there's no point
exactly.
of closing, right? So like you are there, you're like the safety net.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing. A lot of my guys think, a lot of my buyers that come in, they're like, well, I'll pay, I want that tank out of the ground before I close. And I get it. They want to try to protect themselves. And before our programs were available, that's the best way to do it. I mean, obviously the best thing is to go back to the seller and be like, hey, pull that tank, do the environmental cleanup. But
Yeah,
these sellers, a lot of times they don't have the money, or you're
exactly.
dealing with an estate, or you're dealing with a bank, so you don't have that option. So what are you going to do? Walk from the deal? No, you call us. I'll come in. And I say it's better to do a soil investigation if it's done properly than it is to pull the tank. And like I said earlier, because if I pull your tank, first of all, it's going to cost, let's say, 2 G's, right? It's going to take 30 days to get you scheduled with the town
Right.
and all the permits and everything. And then once it's out, if it's leaking, I can't tell you how much it's going to cost to clean up because I don't know how far that contamination plume is. I don't know if groundwater's impacted. I don't know if it's off site. I don't know if it's under a house. I don't know any of that stuff. So I'm going
Right.
to throw a number at you and it's a guesstimate. So now you spent 2 grand, you know the tank, now you're going to walk from the deal. When I could have told you for $600 in 4
Yep.
days, I can tell you exactly what's going on out there. And I'll know to the dollar exactly what it's going to cost to clean up. You know everything within 4 or 5 business days.
Awesome. That's definitely some security and some safety nets.
Yep. No,
Love it.
absolutely.
Love it. Okay. Awesome. So yeah, like before your information, how to get in touch with you. You shared it again. Let's give it one more time before we head off.
Yep, you can hit us. You can look us up, simpletankservices.com. You can email me at info@simpletankservices.com. Check us out. We have a YouTube channel called Tank TV. There's 14 episodes on there, or Facebook or Instagram.
Awesome. Teddy Slack Jr., thank you again for coming out, giving us your feedback, your knowledge, the gems, the things that we need to focus on and realize that New Jersey has. And if you want to be a successful, investor, home buyer, first home time buyer, whatever it is, you have to have the team, and you're definitely one of the team members you must have to be successful. And I definitely I agree with that. And thank you for your time, thank you for your services, and also
Thanks, Eric. Thank you.
enjoy Saturday, guys. Thank you, guys. Be well, guys. Be safe.
Easy.
Take care. Bye-bye.